Hello. Um, I was gonna go on live, but their YouTube was changed. So, I'm making this video. I'm putting it up. I covered the camera because I'm anonymous on this. So, for what happened today was I'm going through all my notebooks, including during the pandemic, where I wrote a lot. And, yes, I did a lot. I scrawled a lot of, you know, what do you call it? Free writing, like authentic writing. But then, this came up, and this is about narcissistic abuse. And, um, back then I thought I'd compile something and, publish something through Amazon or something, but the world has changed, and I have changed. And I think I'm just gonna upload on this. I just blacked out the camera on my laptop because of anonymity. Usually I put something translucent on the camera when I'm on live, but I have to get this out. Yes, my body hurts more when I I relive things like this. But this is the kind of stuff, if you're a creative person, especially if you're a woman creative person, especially if you have CPTSD and um, was devalued as a human being or treated like an animal or an object and never had attachment to the parents. You to people like, for my instance, in my experience, the only touch I received was sexual or violence until I was maybe, unless I was holding hands in school, until I was, yeah, in elementary school and holding hands with partners or like folk dancing, because in the 70s, gym was like folk dancing. And in junior high school, when I would hug my friends, hello, some kissing on the cheeks, hello, and high school, hugging my friends. So, um, this is this is I was in my late 30s. I wasn't a kid, and I was a professional dancer and choreographer. Um, Not underground. So it wasn't underground, but it wasn't commercial. So I made very little money. I had other jobs, and I was on disability at that time. So I was in my trial work period, and but still, I was. It wasn't enough to pay rent. Um, and I mean, my Social Security wasn't enough to pay rent and eat and whatnot. So this was when I was taking on after school jobs and yoga teaching jobs, hoping to get off of disability by gaining enough work. It didn't happen at that time. And I was also getting paid to perform and choreograph and rehearse. Um, when you perform, you rehearse. Yeah, I had a boyfriend who wanted to be a musician, but nothing happened the way he wanted it to go. And so this is for people like me who who had a very injured and fractured sense of self-esteem. And maybe for enablers of people, enablers of art, people who are interested in the arts, who who believe that they're entitled to an arts career without putting in any effort. Um, if you don't make paintings, you don't sell paintings. If you don't compose music, you won't get oh, I don't know if they're called record deals anymore, but you won't get published in a way that will give you monetary income. Um, and putting people down doesn't open up a slot for you to fill. You have to make the work. But this person and my ex-boyfriend has a narcissistic. I think he has a narcissistic personality disorder. He calls it schizotypal, but the kind of entitlement um is, I think, I don't know. I haven't seen him for many years. So this is what I wrote. Okay, how not to be an artist. A person in an arts admin internship asked me what New York City venues my work was in. He said, "Stop bragging. You aren't experienced in the arts." So this isn't while she asked me and I answered her. He was listening, and later on in my apartment, he told me that I was bragging and that I'm not experienced in the arts. And I said, "Google me?" He said, "There's nothing on the internet except for what you put there. You are so full of yourself." And I said, "So I put up the websites for this organization and this theater and this venue. These are our organizations and theaters. I put stuff on the New York Times website, the Time Out New York website." He threw a chair at me and pulled my hair, threatened me with a chain, his bike chain. Bike messengers that don't use a chain from a bike store, they use industrial chains with a padlock around their waist. He threatened me with a chain indoors. And then he said, "I can't do this," meaning his music. "I can't do this because my parents didn't encourage me." And I said, "I was on my own at 16. I did it all on my own." He changes the subject because he refuses to rethink anything. Um, and I put a note. I'm sorry about the pause. I was looking at what I wrote. I guess I watched I did watch um a doc, it's not a documentary. I watched a film that about Bundy, the serial killer, and yes, he reminds me of Bundy. I am illegitimate. Um, he reminded me. So my ex-boyfriend reminded me that he's adopted. That story might have worked on others, but that's what it says on this paper. So he used to always, yeah, reiterate that he was adopted. Um, it must have worked on others. Still, it didn't work on his artistic career. If something doesn't work out, analyze it, change it, or own it. So he wanted to be a famous musician without practicing, you know. And I wrote, okay, so I know I can't play music because I don't practice. I don't go, oh my gosh, I wrote this. I guess I said this to him. I wrote this maybe 5 years ago, but I hadn't seen him. I was with him in 2010 and 2011. But I guess I said to him, I don't go around saying that I am not Nancy Wilson because my parents sexually and physically abused me. And he and then I will continue reading back the background. His parents paid for him to get a bachelor's and he dropped out because he didn't want to continue with his architecture studies. So he went to a technical school for music engineering, and then he didn't do that. And then his parents gave him money to be an IT help desk, computer help desk person. He didn't do that. But this is what I wrote. I, why didn't you get a job in music engineering? Oh. And I wrote in parentheses, he dropped out of college and his parents paid for his tuition, living expenses, and housing at a sound engineering school. He said, the school career center didn't place me. My aunt was going to get me a job from connections, but it wasn't what I wanted. I asked, what do you want? He goes, I don't know, not that. He stopped pursuing a job in his field because, well, I guess he said this. I don't want to be a sound engineer. I want to be in a band. You don't understand. You are a musician. And I guess I said this earlier, but by the time I was an artist performing with groups and companies for 13 years and having my work performed by groups. My work has been performed by groups for 9 years in a professional capacity. So, yeah, he went to weekly open mic to play his guitar and sing. Um, and he wanted to be discovered, form a band, meet colleagues. Yeah, so I wanted to put this because I'm not going to write a book and put it on Amazon. But this is the kind of stuff that happens, and people who haven't experienced dealing with narcissistic people, um, just if a person says that it's the fault um, of not being discovered, um, and yet doesn't make an effort um, to get their work out there besides an open mic, um, and then blaming on something like that happened as a child. I mean, he was adopted, but he was adopted by parents that gave him material, everything material, and coddled him, paid for his education, and it seems like the problem was that they coddled him too much. He drops out of school for one thing, he goes to school for another, and then decides that that's not what he wanted, but he doesn't know what he wants. Um, so Yes, if you're a abuse survivor and comes across things like these are red flags. Maybe for other people, it goes without saying, but these are red flags. And I I believe that enabling people by saying it is that they haven't gotten discovered, keep doing the same thing. Um, for this person was going to the same open mic for I think 2 years and was angry at the world for not being discovered. He didn't make demos. He didn't send demos out. He didn't go on Reverb Nation, which it seems musicians do that to get gigs. He didn't put himself on YouTube. Um, or contact any music publishers. I don't know the music world, and especially um in the 2000s, right? I know that it's not like getting a contract with a record label anymore, but not putting in an effort and feeling entitled doesn't work. I have parents who couldn't get into art school, moved to the United States, couldn't become famous here, um, hung out with other artists who moved here from their country. The country's Japan, and they're well-known people who are living in New York. And yeah, they were basically starfuckers, and they had canvases and um, paint and brushes and solvents and everything, but they didn't make work, right? Maybe once a year they made a painting. My mother didn't. She just made like sketches, but like a few times a year. When I was younger, when I was a teenager, she used to like marvel at how I would finish up sketchbooks full of sketches because she just doesn't like she do the outward thing of buying art supplies and not doing anything. So um I knew not to do that. And I also have friends and choreographers I worked for who didn't become famous but made very interesting, unique work that that was out there in the world of professional postmodern dance, but didn't get the fellowships and the fame. And I admire him so much. And and sticking to your guns, I really and working very hard. I worked very hard, and so did these people. So and also I saw how ugly and tacky it is. Um, yeah, I get thrown down the stairs because I was born and they couldn't become famous artists. There were other artists' parents who made art, who provided for their children, who didn't beat up their children. Also, this ex-boyfriend I'm talking about, nobody, his parents never laid a finger on him. So, yeah. So, uh, um, blaming, yes, the art world, the dance world, and I'm sure the music world, it's tough and it's political, and there are favorites, and there's also money. Yeah, um, people's rich family donate money to a venue or a school, and they get preferential treatment. Um, there are people in the 1% whose parents um, give their children money to start a nonprofit for a tax write-off. That happens. But if you um if you have both the skill and something you want to make art, or you have to polish your skills. Even for stuff that looks raw and looks impassioned. You have to brush up on your skills. I'm not saying you have to go to school or get a degree, but you need the skills and you put in work. Um, Me to a point of I didn't have friends. I still don't have too many friends. Yeah, my dance studio friends, mm, they fell away when I stopped thinking that everything is a joke. I didn't think that everything was a joke, but they tried to lower me down in which everything is a joke. So I I worked very hard and not socializing was not difficult for me as it might be other people because I wasn't allowed to talk to other kids except for in school when I was growing up. Very seldomly I was allowed to go over someone's house or they came over. Very seldomly. Um because they didn't want to get caught. The children talk about their daily lives. It comes out and they did not want to get caught with everything they did to me. Yes, physical abuse and sexual abuse and mental abuse and the lack of having a childhood. So, and other insidious, disgusting thing. And yeah, I so I'm putting this out there. If you know somebody who blames everything external and they don't make any art, be careful. If they're blaming things and their artwork is not moving up in the echelons, that's something else, right? But not making anything and expecting to be famous and not knowing what they want, be very, very careful. And to the enablers who say that a person does so yeah, now I remember his mother kept on telling him to keep trying when he didn't make it in the music world. And so that's what he held on to. Um, she never told him to try something else or work harder. She just said keep trying. So if you're enabling people to get bitter and bitter and feel entitled to fame without putting in any effort, um, you're making a monster. Uh, I believe that reality is important. They say that art is about all about passion and in the mind and imagination and maybe the id and the superego, but there is a reality to it. You have to make work and you have to work hard. You have to get along with people. Yeah. Like belittling a professional person, accusing them of that everything that's on the internet they put there, including press, magazines, venues, as if I hacked into the and and as if I know coding or HTML or whatever it is that I would I would put on these organizations' websites. Um, so yeah, I also found writing about hoarders that were roommates. Maybe I'll do that. I will see. So yeah, this one it's blacked out. There are no images, but I'm going through all these pages. Um, yeah, they cut my work hours again. So I decided I should go through all this paper. And this is what I came upon this afternoon. I will try to upload more and more consistently. Um, have a good day. And if you are an artist who gets belittled by people who have achieved nothing, I want to send you courage and also the courage to let them go. Because at that time, I didn't know any better. All I knew was like being abused. And I was in my late 30s. But, yeah, what was normal? My normal was so out of it. And now there's more stuff about narcissistic abuse on the web. So I want to add to it. Okay, bye.